Welcome back to another episode of Salt Shaker Conversations presented by The Jones Girl. Salt Shaker Conversations are dialogue with the Jones Girls that provide empowerment, authenticity, and transparency. Thank you, John. So today we are actually going to be talking about like a really hot topic. Love, marriage, and divorce. I think everybody likes to talk about relationships. That seems to be one of the main things that people kind of have issues with and questions about. And so we just wanted to provide some insight because I think all of us, well, y'all married, I've been married, and I think all of us have had different experiences and kind of different input. So,
and we will hear your insight.
Yeah, you're gonna hear my insight on kind of what I think. So when it comes to marriage, I think I feel like we have to come up with the basis and the foundational understanding of what is expected in marriage and relationships.
And before we do that, I'm sure you want to know who you're talking to. So we're gonna introduce ourselves.
Oh, we didn't introduce.
Just so you know who you're talking to.
Yes.
All right now.
My name is Kiara Jones.
All right now.
My name is Crystal Jones Walton III.
Go ahead.
Dr. Carmen Jones Harris.
Dr. Edna Jones Miller.
All right. Okay. Yes. Now,
Yes.
let's talk about the
good
main
stuff.
thing being the main thing. Okay.
Yes.
And so when it comes to like marriage and relationships or whatever, what is the foundational thing that we feel like people should understand when it comes to developing in love and marriage? Who want to take that?
Well, let's start with the vet.
Yeah, you were the vet.
Yes.
You the longest.
How many years?
22 this year? 22 this year.
22
Woo!
years.
Yeah.
22
22.
and
21.
21?
21. You were married 20.
A long time.
No, 20.
Over
I'm
20.
over 20.
2003
3.
is when y'all got married.
Yeah, so
So
then it's 20
20.
years.
Okay,
20 years
all
this
right.
year. Okay.
Okay.
What was the question?
I don't know what it was.
What is foundation of
Foundation
marriage?
of
Let's start
marriage,
with that.
love,
Yeah.
and marriage.
Yeah,
What is
let's
the
start with
foundation?
that. Foundation.
What is the foundation? Well, it's, and I want to frame any response that I ever give is always from a faith-based lens.
Yes.
That's I live and breathe the faith, and so anytime I respond, it's from that lens. So you can, probably hear different things in different places. But when you ask me about the foundation,
Yep.
it is a man and woman that have come together and made Christ the center of that relationship. That's the foundation.
Okay.
So that's the foundation of the marriage. And then when you talk about core values and principles, there should be, well, love is disputable because love is disputable. There should be love, at least communication, and definitely traits of honesty. And that will vary based on
And
individuals.
attraction.
No.
No?
I
No.
agree.
See, I knew Kiki
Wait a
was
minute.
talking about
Me
because
too.
Kiki,
Wait
I know
a
that Kiki.
And
That's why I said it, 'cause I knew you would.
now, I think that there are, because if you look back to biblical times, a betrothal is being espoused, which means engaged, and you haven't even met. Now, I'm fast forwarding thousands of years to where we are. I knew Kiki would say that.
No
now,
one is being betrothed these days.
now, I understand. I understand, and I'm here now, but what I am saying is, I know people that have missed out on powerful, purposeful.
Get to the
I'm just telling you, powerful.
Get to the point. Tread lightly.
That have missed out on powerful,
right.
purposeful relationships because things like superficial levels of attraction, and I want to stress that
This
because
is
I've
true.
seen that where they don't dress like this or they don't do
is
that
also
or that.
cosmetic,
So when you
yes.
talk
Right.
about attraction, I could be attracted to your attitude. I could be attracted to your swag. I could be attracted to your brain.
But there
I
is
could
an
be-
attraction.
Right, but I don't
Yeah.
want us to be jaded by a
Physical.
physical
By a
attraction.
physical- right,
My
just attraction.
husband is the total opposite of the type of men that I would normally have been attracted to, but everything about him is attractive. So I don't want people to get on the bandwagon of,
Right.
well, he looked like, now I need you taller than 3 feet. Now, I ain't, you know.
And you need to
Then I
tolerate
need to-
being able to look at them.
No, yeah, I need to look at
Because
you now.
marriage is the one relationship
Right.
where intimacy is key.
Yes.
And so that
Yes.
attraction does need to be there.
It does
even if it's-
matter.
Yes,
Yeah, even
but
if it's
I don't want us, because there are people at different phases that will say, well, you know, they say, and they may take our word like, well, they're married. So I want you to understand when I'm saying attracted, it is because you could be attracted to somebody's spirit and they become beautiful. I've seen that happen. So not being so caught up or put off or jaded by the fact that they're not, you know, I don't want to use a celebrity's name, but whoever you consider the cream of the crop.
So can we say attraction beyond just the physical? Attraction
Yes.
being a soul attraction, a
Yes.
physical attraction, a spiritual attraction.
Yes.
These are 3 parts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can be attracted to someone on different levels.
Yes.
But can we agree that some sort of attraction needs to be
Yes.
there?
Because
Beauty
beauty
is
is
in
in that draw.
Yes,
That's what
Yes.
attraction
beauty is in the
means.
eye of the beholder.
Yes.
Exactly,
So
that's
based
right.
off of the person,
Right.
you know, there has
That's
to
right.
be something
Right.
there
Yes.
for that person. And
Yes.
and so we're trust me, we're gonna get to that part because I said, honey, go on, tread lightly now. Cause you know you're eking all up, you know, and you know, and it's funny because
Would
let me
you
tell you
say
now, one
that
of the
people
people
have missed great
I
opportunities
agree.
because they've taken their eye off of
I
the main
agree.
thing.
Yes. I agree.
Because you notice when I listed the
agree.
core values,
I
I
agree.
didn't list a core value of being attracted to
I
that
agree.
person necessarily with physicalness, because of course everybody always uses, what if they lose a leg?
Right, like
what if
they're
they
gonna-
get gashed
right,
across
they're
the
gonna
face?
change, yeah.
Can you bear to look at them? So my attraction and connection to you
Has to go
is
beyond.
if I lose my eyesight, what's still there?
Right.
So I'm not saying he or she should look like a cyclops.
Yeah.
You know, because we
You
talk,
need
we
both
know
eyes.
because we advocate for self-care. We
Yes.
advocate for being physically presentable. But I recognize as a woman, every man is not going to be attracted to me, and every woman's not going to be attracted to them. I recognize that, but I don't put that as a cornerstone or core value of a
Gotcha.
person being connected to the other person, because I have seen it too many times with it. Girl, he just.
But I get what you're saying.
know,
so you're
so
talking
that-
about cornerstone, you're
Yes.
talking about foundation, you're
Yes,
talking
that
about
was
the
the question.
thing
Yes,
that keeps
but now
the
at a
relationship.
surface level,
Right.
I gotta be able to look at you.
Gotcha. Okay,
I'm
so
not
that's
lying.
the distinction.
I gotta be able
That
to look
is
at
the
you.
distinction.
I have to, but what's drawing us together? Because if we are honest, the initial is what you see. You know, you or me, you know, it's what you see. Like, oh, they cute, or I'm feeling them, or all right, and the interest is peaked. It is the other pieces of them that keep you there.
There you go. Because
But-
you can be with
Yes.
good looking all you want.
But
And
I've seen it on the flip side,
I've seen
where
it.
you're with someone and you're friends, and you're like, I never noticed that they're so this,
Mm-hmm.
or I never noticed the beauty in this, and then that attraction. You've ever seen those couples where you wonder how he got her or how she got him?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
If you heard their story, that person has seen beyond the outside, and
Absolutely.
something else has called
Which
to
is a
them,
beautiful thing.
which is the core
Yeah.
foundation of relationships.
Gotcha.
Would
Thank
you
you for making
now?
that
Would you say you can have all of those core things and attraction?
Yes. We want attraction.
Oh, yeah.
We want attraction.
We do.
We want attraction. I'm not saying that.
I will say,
You know.
when we went on our girls trip in 2019,
19.
we were talking about relationships, and I think one of us pulled up a picture of this person. We were just talking in general, and this person actually looked like their significant other, and so their eye naturally goes to a certain type of person.
Yeah.
So it's like you're attracted to what you're attracted to.
Right.
And so I think so much, like for me, like I was like, I got a bonus because I was like, Lord, he's attractive in all areas. Hey, babe. And so, so yeah, and I was like, I know that's not, I'm not gonna say typically the case, but sometimes when you get older or when it's like some things you'll compromise on. Because you're like, all right, it's good companionship. Or, okay, I'm just, he got a good chick.
But I
You know,
wouldn't
older-
advocate that. I wouldn't advocate for that in relationships. I wouldn't, because you already
So would
have
you-
one foot out the door. What I'm saying
That's my
is is even as we become, and I don't want to turn this into a preaching session,
please.
but even as
Tell the people, tell
no,
them.
but even as we become more like Christ,
Yes.
and we take on the mind of Christ. It's almost like a replacement of our own mind to take on His. So the same thing is true in attraction. So what you think you like on this, 6 feet tall and bow-legged. I don't know what it is about being bow-legged. Y'all do realize
That ain't what.
that's
That's
in South Florida.
thing.
South Florida.
Yeah, that ain't a
Yes.
thing.
Whatever
Yeah,
that is. You're able to, as you take on a different mindset, different eyes, you're attracted to things that are different. The things that move you are different. So attraction in and of itself is so subjective and relative to the situation. Now again, we advocate for self-care. Put some good clothes on.
Yeah.
Comb your hair.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Somebody is angry.
Anyway.
Even in marriage, right? Because the attraction should continue even in marriage.
Yeah.
So we advocate for self-care,
Yeah.
but I recognize that those things of the outer are so superficial.
Yeah.
And they do
Yeah.
change.
Yes,
And they
change.
change.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
right.
They change.
And I think, well, I don't want to get into all because honey, we'll be here all day if you hear me talk. But she and I, we were actually having a conversation about this the other day because being single the first go around is much different than being single after you have been married and
True.
divorced.
Yes.
It is a completely different outlook, completely different,
Explain
thing.
that.
So let me
I don't
explain
know.
that. Let
Yeah,
me
what that
explain
is.
that.
Yeah.
So, and this is no shade to nobody. So I don't want nobody to be like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. No, do whatever
This
you
is
do.
your
This is
experience.
my experience.
Gotcha.
So when you have never been married, you have a very idealistic. You approach marriage in a very idealistic way. You doing that, dear future husband, letters to yourself and I love the podcast, by the way, so I ain't talking about you. But I'm just saying, no, I watch the podcast. It's great. I'm talking about just we're very, we romanticize it in our head because we have never, we think
It's the
what we
reality.
haven't experienced the reality of what that is, right? And then you get married. And my ex, he wasn't a bad person, just didn't work out. Okay, right? So it didn't work out. So now on this side, I'm not as idealistic and kind of up in the clouds. I'm very like, no, honey, that's not, because what I thought was like the thing to have as a husband or the things that I should have, because I was raised in a house where my dad was obsessed with my mama. Like, love my mama, he loved his woman, he chasing around the house type thing. So we didn't see a lot of what it took, I guess, to really keep that together and keep that going. So I didn't really have that full understanding until I got a little older and mama started to have those conversations with us. And so once you get divorced and then you deal with the disappointment of what you thought would have happened or what you thought that was supposed to be like not happening, now I'm a lot more logical. Now I'm a lot more.
Well, I wouldn't say you're logical.
I'm not
I
logical.
would
What do you mean
say,
by
I would say that you learned about yourself because
Okay.
it is a
Okay.
journey of self-discovery.
Okay, I'll say
Right
that.
now, you recognize the things you will not compromise.
Right.
Where before, in a euphoric or idealistic
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
world, you were willing to compromise or say, it's all right. But now that you've been through that, you know who you are.
Right.
You know what it is you like and don't like. That's one way a person can come out after divorce.
Yeah,
On the
that's
other
true.
side, a person can come out more jaded. They could
Okay.
come out to really have a belief or idea about marriage that is not as healthy and would be more reluctant
Yeah.
to enter in
And I
or
went
do
through
the
that.
total opposite.
I went through that
Okay.
season
Uh-huh.
at that time
Right.
because
Right.
at first I when I first got divorced, I said I would never get married again. I was like, oh, I'll never do that again. That's way too much. But over time, and as I got healed, and as God started to kind of peel off the layers and things like that, I'm very optimistic about being married again, and know that I will be married again. I'm very excited about what is to come. But I am do not point over here, because that's going to be in part two, what the things this girl done tried to hook me up with. But
You don't like the game?
I do not. Don't you don't you say that on TV.
Sorry.
But I have a more solid approach about what it is that I want. There is a difference between compromising and lowering my standards. Those are two different things. I ain't lowering my standards, but I'm willing to compromise in certain areas. So that's the difference on this side. So I'm not kind of in my bedroom, sitting up in my room dreaming. I ain't none of that. You know, I ain't up there, daydream. I ain't doing that. Because to be honest, I'm learning to just enjoy the place that I'm in. I don't want to spend all my time wishing that I was either ahead or behind. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, I'm starting to enjoy the space that I'm in. I want to.
I know. I mean, the question I have, I think even for you and for everybody, like, so how was your faith impacted by the relationship? So how was it impacted by that experience, or by what you've seen? Because although we grew up in the same house, we saw a healthy marriage relatively for until they got to, well, I mean, when they passed, they passed away. But you've seen other relationships, and you've developed your belief and ideals about relationships. So how has your faith, what you saw and witnessed, impacted your own personal relationships? So I mean, we could, and that's open to really anybody on the table.
I'll say my faith has grown. Just from what I've seen happening to other people, which I really try not to do. I try not to focus on what's happening with other people, because I think that's the issue, where you start looking at, oh Lord, look at what happened over there. Well, I don't want that to happen to me. No, if you focus on you and you take care of home, God will bless what you are doing in your own space, in your home. And so I will say my experience has been different from yours. And I have had a really fruitful, blessed, and happy marriage. I just have. Has it been perfect all the time? Absolutely not. I can think of, where we started and where we are now, and I can just, reflect on our journey and the things that we've had to go through to learn each other, to grow in different spaces. I was a little selfish, sometimes, I will say.
Maybe still a bit.
No, I mean, but I had, issues with expectations and communication, because, the experience that I had with my dad, he was very sure. He was very confident in the decisions that he was making for the family. He knew, I always knew if I go to daddy, that daddy's going to have an answer. There's going to be a direction, and I'm going to feel secure, and I need that. So that's how that has impacted the way I engage in the relationship with John, is that I need security. And in the beginning, I didn't feel that way, because he had a lot of growing to do in terms of communication. So here it is. I'm a communication major. I talk. I know how to articulate my thoughts. My mom was this big, English teacher and larger than life personality. So I learned those things, and I knew how to communicate, but he didn't have that. And
but
so
do you look at your marriage now and say, if I would have quit before this point, I would have missed out.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you don't,
I am so thankful for the growth that has taken place in both of us.
Yeah.
Because I can see where he has grown. I can see where I've grown. I can see where I mean, for example, let me give you an example of me. So, I don't talk as much as y'all do. So if I get upset, I don't get angry outwardly. I get angry inwardly. That means I shut down. I mean, so in the beginning, when we first got married, I could shut down for hours. Give me a day.
You're gonna talk.
You know,
You're gonna talk.
like daddy. Yeah, so daddy used to be quiet, and so I would just be silent. And the silence was it was a punishment, and it was not healthy
You
for
did
our
that as a
marriage.
child.
I did so I had to learn to grow out of that. And I had to get to a place where I could literally open my mouth and say, you know what? Now is not a good time to talk. And I'll let you know when I'm ready. Like I had to grow into that, because otherwise I want you to feel the cut. I want you to feel the silence. I want you to feel it, because I want you to know I'm mad. And I'm not gonna tell you I'm mad.
Right.
I just want you to feel that I'm mad. And I want you to work your behind off to figure out why, and I still ain't gonna say nothing. That's how I started.
And then you accepted Jesus into your heart.
Amen.
Conversation.
Amen. No, but even with Jesus, I had that attitude in the relationship, and I have had to grow out of that. So I just said all that to say that I don't even know what the original question was, but
It's just about your faith.
my faith has really grown in helping me to learn more about me, helping me to learn more about him. Y'all know I talk about my husband all the time. I love me some John Robert Miller Jr. Lord Jesus, God help me.
Shout out to John.
I love my husband, and it took time for us to get there, and we had to do it together.
Yeah. What about you? What do you want? I mean, if you want to share.
We know. But the people don't know. So talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if you want to share.
So which question?
How has your faith has grown?
Ooh.
Yeah, because.
All right. So, background similar but different. So you heard everyone say we're sissy cousins. So their parents were married forever, since high school. Yeah, since high school. My parents divorced when I was 5. So my frame of reference was their parents and my parents. And so I had to come, or really have a come to Jesus meeting with what he had for me. Because I'd seen marriage and then I'd seen singlehood. And I saw both were satisfied. And so when it came to marriage, I think I literally had to ask God, what do you want for me? Because I've seen it both ways. And so when he said marriage, I was just like, oh, okay. Well, what will mine look like? Because I know me. And I was just like, I need to have someone who compliments me, right? And so I know so much of my personality at the time. I got married when I was 24. Yeah, 24. So that was like right out of college. And I just remember I had no stability. Like just none. And I was like, the first thing I knew I needed was somebody stable and disciplined, because he had to be consistent. And so I was like, Lord, at minimum, I need that, because I never had it. And so I was just like, okay. So I had these, and I didn't have a list, but I knew I had these qualities that I was lacking in. And so I was just like, for us to be one and come together to complement each other, I had to do some real soul searching and be real with myself and aware of myself to know, you know what, I need someone patient. I need someone kind. And all of these attributes was actually the definition of love. And when I saw that, I was just like, I needed somebody who was going to love me this way. And so when I realized that, I was like, God, I need you to show me you through this person. And I remember meeting my husband. I am not going to cry.
Okay, come here.
One time for C.
Hey, CJ, good man.
Yes,
CJ,
I
good
remember meeting him, and I waited for him to change. And I was like, no one is this nice. No one is this kind. No one is this patient. And God was like, but I am. And you told me you needed to see me. And here I am.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, and that made me able to submit, because I never saw it, like, on a daily basis, because my mom was single. Like, I saw it with y'all, but Auntie was a peacock. Like, my uncle let her sit back and do everything she wanted to do. Yeah, and I was like, and that's dope. And I was like, I need a guy that will let me do that, and to a certain extent. And I was just like, when I began to put him next to the men who was foundational for me, who were loving towards me, who was kind towards me. My uncle was that for me, your dad. And so I felt comfort, and I felt like God saw me for the first time.
Wow. Wow. That's deep. Wow. That's deep.
So how has it impacted my faith? I learned love of God through my marriage. Because I think we say Ephesians 5 all the time. And it's like, but how does that look with trust and vulnerability and fear and the data? And I was just like, I can recall trusting God in the beginning with him. And I go back to that a lot of times when I'm afraid. And so my marriage has been a faith walk. My life has been a faith walk. And so that's how I've learned and grown. So that's my story.
That's deep. That is deep. And I remember my personal journey after I got divorced. I remember my faith was shattered. And I remember crying to God and I said, you can't even put my heart back together because there are no pieces to put. Because I've been crushed. So you can't put, like there's no way you can put me back together, right? But I can look back at that now and see how ridiculous that was for me to say. Because the Lord, it was so funny because after I got divorced, I remember God put me on assignment to pray for my ex-husband every day until he told me to stop. He said, you intercede until I tell you to stop. And that, when I tell you, and I would do it in tears sometimes. I would do it with clenched teeth. I would do it. But I look now at my journey of faith. I ended up understanding my calling. If people heard me then and they hear me now, you're going to hear the oil now that I ain't had then. Because of the process of God putting me back together. And when I didn't even think I had pieces to even put back together, and I don't even think he put pieces back together, I just think he gave me a new heart.
Come on,
I think he gave me something different, right? Exactly. And Ezekiel 36 was really my scripture. And so how do you come out loving? Even when the love isn't returned? How do you, because, and God reminded me one time, he said, when you were married, you asked for certain things. And he often reminds me of certain things that I prayed, that I forgot that I prayed when I was married. And I remember praying, and I said, God, help me to love my husband the way you love him. And he said, this is the ultimate test for you to still love, even though you've been betrayed. How do you think I feel? Like, now you really want to know how I love? How I continue to love you when you betrayed me. How many times have I done that? And so I had to learn that divorce taught me literally the love of God on the backside. You know what I'm saying? On another side, how patient God is, even though the other person never responded, even though that was never the thing, but it changed me.
Yes.
And now I feel like when I get married again, there is a greater capacity for me to love my husband, for me to love him in a way that God loves him, and for me to not always look at the just at the what's happening right here, right now in my face, but I can be a lot more faith-filled. So that's kind of my experience with that. So I know we are kind of like counting down on it. So are there any last moments? Now we do have a part 2 because we are going to talk to my singles in part 2. We're going to talk about this.
Well, I didn't get to.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, you did. Yeah, we have time, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Because one of the pieces, because they have these loving stories of y'all got such sweet marriage stories of just woo. Well, when I got married, I remember telling God, "What have you done to me?" I know. And so we'll talk about that part too. Because they gave the the heaven. Nope.
Everybody's journey.
Everybody's journey. So I just I didn't want to leave out some of y'all that felt like me.
Right. And we're gonna talk about that in part 2, and we're gonna talk to the singles in part 2 as far as like what is that waiting supposed to look like? What is that supposed to look like? What not picking up? And this was something that the Lord just told me the other day because I went to him and I had talked to Danielle on the phone for like an hour
and a half,
and
that's okay.
Yeah, and I got off the phone with her, and the Lord said, now, you either gonna trust me or you're gonna look at the world standard. And so we're gonna talk about that in part 2. But we are signing off, guys. Make sure you come back next week where we do part 2 of love, marriage, and divorce. But until then, we are the salt of the world, having everyday conversations, y'all. We love y'all. Bye.
Peace.